Hi, my name is Chris Sturhan. Welcome to another episode of Drinks from Eddie Muller's Noir Bar. Each week, I take a chapter from the book Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, and I talk about the film in that chapter and make the drink associated with that film. Today, we're looking at The Devil Thumbs a Ride and the drink The Boilermaker. Now, The Devil Thumbs a Ride stars Lawrence Tierney. Now, I could talk about him, but actually what Eddie Muller says at the beginning of this chapter is absolutely priceless. It's 1,000 times better than anything I could come up with, so I'm just going to read it. Lawrence Tierney is the baddest man in Hollywood history. That's fact, not legend. He had star-making roles handed to him on a platter in the 1940s, but he smashed the platter to the floor, slugged the waiter, and picked a fight with the host, repeatedly. Drink made a monster of him, and as I've noted elsewhere, Tierney may be the only actor in movie history who posed for more mugshots than publicity photos. Damn. So, for me, when I think about Lawrence Tierney, he almost always plays a psycho. But what makes him special to me is that he's got the physicality to back it up. I mean, Humphrey Bogart could play a good psycho, but Humphrey Bogart, was 5'8" and weighed $145. Lawrence Tierney was 6'1" and probably 170, 180 of muscle. So I would much rather get my ass kicked by Humphrey Bogart than Lawrence Tierney. So the movie, The Devil Thumbs a Ride, it starts in San Diego, my hometown, yay. Lawrence Tierney robs a guy at a bank deposit slot and takes his money, shoots him, and ends up killing him, and goes on the lam. And he goes on the lam by hitching a ride. Now, to modern audiences, hitchhiking seems like kind of a strange thing. It doesn't seem that strange to me. When I was about 14 or 15, I used to hitchhike to the beach all the time. And when I started driving, I would pick up hitchhikers just because karma. I felt like I should pick up hitchhikers just because I got enough free rides myself. I remember about 20 years ago, everybody was very much into, I don't want to get in a car with a stranger. If somebody was going on a date for the first time, they'd say, well, we need to meet someplace public and not get in a car with a stranger. Well, 20 some odd years later, everybody has an app on their phone for Uber and Lyft, and we get in cars with strangers all the time now. I mean, it's a slightly different thing. We pay for the privilege, but we do get in cars with strangers, that we've never met before and probably never meet again, and we have no idea of their background. Of course, you could probably say the same for cab drivers, too. Now, the person who picks up Lawrence Tierney in the film is a salesman. He's going from San Diego to Los Angeles, and he does it mainly because he wants the company. They stop for gas. They pick up a couple of young women who are also on their way to Los Angeles, and Lawrence Tierney talks the salesman into giving them a ride as well. Now, for me, my only real problem with this movie is that Lawrence Tierney does these crazy-ass things, and that's not my problem because it's Lawrence Tierney. He's always doing stuff like that. But what gets me is that he rationalizes what he has just done, and everybody in the car just kind of goes along with it. When you're thinking, what the hell, dude, man, you need to fight him or give him the keys of the car and just say, hey, take it, you're on your own, or something like that. But they never do that. But what happens is there's two storylines going on. There's what's the crazy stuff that Lawrence Tierney is doing, and then this sort of police procedural stuff of the cops trying to hunt him down. And it switches gears so fast that you don't really have a chance to think about that. And that kind of works in this movie's favor. If it was a 2-hour movie, I don't think they could pull it off. If it was even a 90-minute movie, they probably couldn't pull it off. But this movie runs a brisk 62 minutes, and it just has this frenetic energy that carries it forward and makes you knock over a shot glass. And you don't really get much of a chance to think about what's going on in it. And it makes it work when another movie doing more or less the same thing wouldn't. Now, the drink, a Boilermaker. I hesitate to even call this a cocktail. A Boilermaker is like two drinks that you order at the same time. It's a shot of whiskey and it's a beer. Um, Eddie Muller rationalizes that the reason he picked this drink for Lawrence Tierney was that if he picked something that had, fruit juice and simple syrup and some kind of liqueur, Lawrence Tierney's ghost would come back and kick his ass. And I kind of go along with that. That rationalization works a whole lot better than what Lawrence Tierney was trying to pull in the movie when he said, well, I ran over the cop, but he was shooting at us when we left, so he must be okay. So we have this drink that is a shot and a beer. You can either have it as a beer, drink the shot and use the beer as a chaser, or you can chop the shot glass in the glass, which is what I'm going to be doing. Now I want to talk a little bit about beer. Now, beer and alcohol per volume. If you want to call, by federal law, if you want to call something a beer in this country, it needs to be less than 4% alcohol. So what we think of as mainstream beers, Budweiser, Miller High Life, Coors, that sort of thing, they all come in at about 3.9% alcohol by volume. Now, the craft beer industry isn't really constrained by that because people buying craft beers don't really care whether it's a beer or not. They care more about what type of beer it is. Is it a lager? Is it an ale? Is it a stout? Is it a porter? That sort of thing. So a lot of craft beers are more alcoholic just because they don't need to worry about that. Now, one of the things that they do in craft beers is they have some terminology that say most, the low end of craft beers are usually in the neighborhood of about 5.5% to 7% alcohol by volume, quite a bit stronger than the 4% of Budweiser and Miller. So, and then certain styles, like for instance IPAs, India Pale Ales, which are very popular right now, they tend to be higher in the 7 to 8% range, which is what the style was. It was a style of beer that was imported to India from the UK, from England, and they wanted the extra alcohol and hops to keep the ale from going bad when it was on the long trip to India. Now, there's some terminology they use in the beer industry. Often they'll use the term double or triple. So you might have a double IPA or a triple stout or something like that. And they use that as an indication that there's more alcohol in this. So you might have a double IPA that would be maybe 7.5% and that's 9% as a double IPA, or a triple stout that's 9.5%, whereas a stout might be 6%, something like that. Now, there's another term that they use, which is imperial. So if you have an imperial stout and imperial porter, often these are in the 10 to 11% range. Now, you also have, once you get above about 11%, often they start calling it barley wine because it's less of a beer. It's more like a wine that's made out of malted barley and hops and lightly carbonated. And so wine is actually more appropriate. Now, the reason I went into all of this is that I found a calculator online that would calculate how much ABV, alcohol by volume, is in a drink. And if we take this beer, which is 6% alcohol, it is AleSmith 394 Pale Ale, which is a San Diego beer in honor of Tony Gwynn. And it's 6% alcohol. And if we take my bourbon, my Buffalo Trace, which is 90 proof, which makes it 45% alcohol, you put a shot, which is an ounce and a half, in that beer, it's going to add up to 10.3% alcohol. So it's kind of like you're making an instant imperial whatever by drinking a Boilermaker. I honestly can't see you drinking a lot of these. I'm going to have one and I'm probably going to be done for the day, but I can't see you going to the bar and having knocking back 4 or 5 of these things because you'd be just totally schnockered. Anyway, so we're going to start with this. We're going to start with my beer. And let me hold it up. And I'm going to try to pour it without too much foam because I have a feeling it's going to get I guess I failed on that. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we're going to take my bourbon, and I have never done this, so I'm hoping it doesn't spill all over the bar when I drop this in. But we're going to give it, it's pretty close to the top on the shot glass, and we're just going to drop it in. Okay, it spilled a little bit. All right, now, here we go. Wow. Wow, you can really taste the bourbon in there. If you like whiskey and you like beer, this might be the thing for you. I mean, it's actually pretty good. I mean, I'm getting a lot of whiskey. Actually, I'm getting a lot of whiskey. It's tasting significantly less like beer and more like whiskey. So there you go. It's actually pretty nice. Next week we are going to continue with the hitchhiking theme, and we're going to talk about the movie The Hitchhiker, and we're going to stick with this part of the world. We were in San Diego going up to Los Angeles. We're going to go south of the border for The Hitchhiker, and the drink is El Diablo, which is one of the few drinks in the book that I've actually had, and it's really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that one. I do have a slight twist on it that is not in the book. I hope Eddie won't mind. It's not. I'm going to make it according to his recipe, but I'm going to do something a little bit different with the garnish than what Eddie recommends. This week, some executives at TCM were laid off. I really feel bad for them. I hope TCM is not impacted very bad by this. I wish them lots of luck in the future. They're good people. They're smart people. I'm sure they're going to land on their feet. But I really am a little concerned about what's happening with TCM. But I'm sure they're going to keep plugging away the way we expect them to. So, in honor of Lawrence Tierney, from a booth in the back of Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, in honor of Lawrence Tierney, I'm going to say, so what are you looking at? Bourbony. See you next time.